Lily Marcel Houcher, Gaitel Koyote, Dene Hisling, Do Etai Dao Siha, Tu Jotel Dene Zen Jinke, Ede Kuta Marcy. My name is Lily Marcel, and I'm the instructor for the dry fish making course for the Athabasca Chippewa First Nation here at the Doghead Elder and Youth Lodge. How many people are supposed to be coming? How many people? Is there some more?
We put up this event through the ACFN Elders and Youth Lodge for the people to learn how to make dry fish that haven't done it before but want to learn so they can carry on that tradition.
Well, our goal as Chief and Council, which was passed down from our elders, was what we were told by our elders, that we have to keep our tradition. Our goal is to make sure that we teach our children, we learn as parents, we learn as leaders, and pass that on to the next generation, and make sure that they pass it on. We're going to be looking for some willow, probably about an inch round, and about 5 feet long, and that's to hang our fish.
Preferably this type of willow would be nice because it's strong once it dries.
And it's straight.
And it's straight and it's sturdy, and this is what my parents normally would get to hang their fish with. You never use birch and you never use spruce because the spruce has a lot of gum. You have a problem because then your dry fish will be all black. And then we'll get like the water, the table, the area you're going to be working, and getting the grass, cutting the grass to scale your fish on. The way we were taught how to make dry fish was to different stages, and another table to do the cutting, like the fillet part, and then the end part is the slicing and then the hanging. First of all, what we will have was starting off is with a whitefish.
Grab
So,
a fish.
Look at how big these are. Look at that. You cut the part there because it's kind of like a C when you cut. Because if you don't do that, then your dry fish is red, like all the blood stays onto the meat. And doing this way, you cut the blood all drains out. See where the blood is right there?
Yeah.
That's where you cut like that.
Oh, okay.
Then you start scaling the fish, like on both sides, and up the middle part. And this is nice because they had it in the cooler with ice. So it helps.
Do you cut there before you put in the water?
Yeah, and you go like this, and don't cut it all the way over here because you need some to hang like later.
Oh, so you cut it before you put in the water?
Like this here, yeah. Just like this.
Oh,
And then you kind of scrape it out like this a little bit before you put it in here. I remember when we used to do this here in the summertime, we get out of mission, we all had to go to jackfish, and we had to help my mom them make dry fish. And then us kids will have to be scaling, and everybody had their own little station. Once scaling and then cutting and. And it's better to work with freshly caught fish, because the meat is like firmer and it's a lot better. But if you have dead fish, you could still use it, and then the meat is, once it's dry, it's nice and tender, and it's good for pemmican.
God, when the fish used to run a jackfish, it's always.
Oh my goodness, 100 a day sometimes, eh?
Yeah.
Holy! Finally, you don't even want to see any more fish. Enough already. And now just scrape off the excess, like all the scales, and you put it in the water. Cool. It's important to get all the scales out when you're scaling the whitefish. The reason is some people, once you eat all the dry fish, there's a skin that's left. Some people usually cook the skin like over the fire, and it's nice. It's nice and crispy, and it's tasty. Okay, and you go like this, and then just go a little bit, and just don't try to cut the bone, and just go slowly, and then that way you don't get the bone, and it just comes right off. Yeah, cool. You got it. There you go. As soon as you catch it, you just come. The sooner the better, because it's better to work with a nice firm live fish rather than the drowned ones, because then the meat is soft and it's harder to work with. And in Dene you say, for whitefish, we say thu. Okay, can we all say it? Thu. But that's how the Dene women are. We like to joke and laugh, I think. It does. It's nice to joke around and serious, and and time flies.
Yeah, my mom was really good at making dry fish. She probably made 1 million or more in her lifetime. But her fastest time at a competition was 52 seconds from start to finish.
With no holes in it, eh?
No holes in it. Then you take all your glitter off you. I have my watch too.
The biggest part is washing it and working in a clean area at all the stages. Some people just wipe it and scale and do the fish that way, and it's not it doesn't taste good, The slime is probably what that gives that taste, and it's not pleasant.
It's all opened up. Yeah, that's the way.
There you go.
Yeah.
We were promised to continue our way of living. We were able to go back on our traditional lands and hunt and fish and gather and trap. To keep that going today is important, because, we hear a lot of talk about industry in our area and all the damage that they've been doing. After that era is gone, we're going to be left here, and we're going to have to probably go back to our way of life again, back to preserving our food. And our treaty rights does protect that for us, and we have to make sure that we keep that. It's very important.
Okay, now we're at the stage. Once it's washed, this is where we're slicing. You cut from the head part, like from the top of the fish all the way down to the bottom of the gills, and then that's the one side. And then you flip the fish over and you do the same thing on the other side. Once you cut the two parts by the gills there, and you flip your fish it has to be a pointed knife to cut your first cut all the way down to the tail part, and you flip it over and you do the same thing from the other side right down to the tail part.
Not too close?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's
Come on, Rod, grab a knife.
All the way down. And then you flip your fish back flat, and then you use what I use is a round knife. What you do is then you slice like a fillet all the way through, and then you flip the fish over and do the same thing again, and try to have most of the meat towards the skin. And then once you do the fillet on both sides, you grab it by the tail part, and you grab your knife and you put it alongside the backbone on one side, and then the other side, so that all the bones is cut off, and then you cut off right by the head. The reason why you have to leave the long backbone on is to help the fish when you hang the fish, it gives it weight. Always scrape your fish to be nice and clean. And then we always have to cut this in the middle, because this is where all the fat is, right? And I noticed some people some people do it differently some places, but we always take this out, because that way it doesn't make your dry fish fatty, and it can get rancid faster, right? So, and these, you can also cook these. Those are very delicious. You just boil it with some insides, and you start slicing, and it's got to be very thin. I would say maybe about a quarter of an inch, or even 1/3 of an inch. If it's thick, then it takes longer to dry, and then that's when your fish it spoils.
Cut it, you don't worry about flipping your fish, eh?
No.
That way.
You know, I enjoy making dry fish. I don't like dry fish.
You don't like it?
I like it when
I eat
it's
it like that.
a little bit of smoke and then cooked in, over the fire or in the oven.
Not like dry.
But when it's dry, forget it. I'm not interested. But I enjoy making dry fish.
And once you're done, you grab it by the tail part, and you put your knife down at the tip of on the other end of the fish, and you pull it as much as you can.
I could hang for you if you want.
Okay.
That'll be my job.
Okay, hanging now.
And then that way, okay. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, my first time. Okay, so hanging it. Oh, I'm gonna go this way. Just because I could see it better. So this is my first time. It was actually very interesting. You know, it's not as easy as you think it would be to do in your first time, because you have to really watch when you're cutting it. You don't want to cut like the meat part of the fish. It's not so bad if you have a good knife, like Lily said. It doesn't cut through everything, but it's actually very interesting.
It's the best time to do the dry fish is when you have a beautiful day, when it's windy, it's sunny, because then your dry fish dries.
I gotta try this.
Once you have it hung out all day, by evening it should be ready for the smokehouse. And what you do is you take it all down, and you cut off the tail part, the fin, the backbone.
Now this is a delicacy, Michael. As kids, this was supper. Boiled potatoes, raw onions, and fish bats, eh? And blueberry jam.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yummy.
Yummy. It's got a bit of smoke in it too, so bonus. You get the poles, and you usually put about 10 fish to. That's how my mom taught us. We put 10 fish onto a pole. When you hang it up, you can't just leave it all together. You have to separate them in order to have it dry properly with the smoke and the fire. The main thing, I guess, is having your fire and smoke in the smokehouse all day. So in other words, you have to constantly putting wood in the fire and having the smoke going at all times. You got to be careful too, because you don't want to burn your dry fish. And what'll end up having is that you'll have a really crispy dry fish. And the biggest thing is having your heat there, but mostly smoke and not too much smoke. That's why we want to do it for 2 days. And then the rest of the time it's hung up in the house. Yeah, you can't just make your fire and walk away and hope that it continues smoking for the whole day. No, you have to always constantly check your fire, and you always have to add some more. Like, you'll know what to add. If you still have your log that's still smothering from the smoke, you still have to add some dry and then put some wet wood on top of it. And then what you do is you bring the dry fish into the house in the evenings. The reason for doing that is because if you leave the dry fish outside, it could get damp. And the first thing in the morning, even before you have breakfast, my mom would have, this is how we were taught, she'd go make the fire outside and have the fire going and the smoke and everything, and then all the dry fish have to go back out again and hung again. This is how my mom would check to see if it's dry or not. by checking the back here. If it's not, this is almost dry, so the texture is getting hard to touch and dry.
Pecans.
And this one is the one that's not dry, and the one that's almost dry.
Like up here is drier, so this there is still it's quite soft. So that you have to put it back in the smoke.
And then by the second day, the evening of the second day, your dry fish, by you touch it to see the texture and everything, and the color and everything. You'll notice if it's dry. When you make dry fish from beginning to end, it's a lot of work, a lot of process, a lot of patience. But this is our way of life, and this is how we were taught. This is our finished product. Then we started on Friday from the lake to here, and it's all nice and dry, so it's not much smoke, so it's just nice. Good job. It does take time, but then the finished product, you'll be, satisfied and happy with the product once you're done. With industry and our water situation in jackfish, like the dry fish, like for the whitefish, you hardly catch anything because of the water level so low, and it makes a big difference. And it's so sad to see that not very many people that use that way of living, out in a trap line like we used to. But then on the upside, thank you to Athabasca Chippewa First Nation and Roxanne Marcel to offer this at the Elders and Youth Lodge here in Fort Chip, and giving me the opportunity to show my way of life and of making dry fish with my sister Donna. I am so pleased, and I'm fortunate to be able to pass this on to younger generation, and I'm hoping that this continues. And with that, Marcy Cho.
Dene Jose hade iltin te Jose ai. Ayurde Dene Ribani benurit ath ulaha. Dene ho dachu hade di ante avye. Dit en benurit adu ayurde ula ahuti. Didn't eal Jehovah, didn't that tade. Then didn't that he gone to Ja, sie tu big al you could lipala big inil truthai. Could a la de year boni diha.
Here they come. They're not racing.
So don't punch a hole in your head. Yeah. You just stopped it.
No, these were not from the store.
Yeah. We strung it up and then we. This is why I want to be in the movies. There's a dry for a couple days. Be back Monday.
Det needed heltids and urdechen. Nani ninti big that's it daha.
Every time your kids kill a moose, now you'll be there doing one?
You're only allowed to kill one a year after if I have to do this.
A year good nentfall the needed galata. The nentfall the needed galata de hatial ye ho. A cherry like a buried in the nentfall galata. Den needed nentfall the needed and I hood a deku that tea narrator. The needed narrator in roll ahali the nigran nalie. Hilchu. The needed hotel had to have yasi boridi ho. Two bangal banile did a so galata ho. Look a bangai nisi. Could the need that tinga ho seho and a halu and a hood ede, a little bit cherry hill chew, halu the knee rat, a halu dut hill chew de coo, but at the neither the nur ha tinga ho sea. The need tigra that clack that thok out, sas claseo to you halu be bestilien ras. Coo ye nink de coo the need that earlier, but at the neither the nur ha.
The stage?
The needed halup cherry hill true nelthal the need ra harlu in roll and a hood ede to bebanat the need that had the need ra ho said it a halu in roll up at a hood in see a year the need tira big earlier the halu era hill choosy.
Yes, I don't want to do it.
Hold that end towards the center. His end, yeah. Hold that into the center.
Emily, put your muscles to it. I don't want to crack it.
The need that earlier. Not cute to target zinots and
Log, there's a log right here. Okay, once you let your hide soak overnight with the paste, you put it out in the sun. You let it sit in the sun for 3 days to let that oil from the paste soak into the hide to get it nice and soft. This is day 2 of hide number 1. See, the oil's soaking in, starting to get that brown color.
the need tigan arrest jare are you in roll anali hill chua. The need that tweetal choose the target zineha. Could zinedanel to an delay. Or target ziner on neither could at that clock needs to head sensi be it to it. They need the delay.
You put clean water on, and then this is what you do.
They need that head either nur had they need that head Dani ag deni da chute kuhuti.
This will stretch now, see?
Oh, yeah.
This here won't stretch.
Deni that ag da chute kuhati hilti. Tudo diets and
That's right.
Deni that to horrid in day to have they get to hande to veralata ho asida and tudo diets and Ei en goed ede ku deni that hilti. E allu sa deni that na gatha tudo dia na gatha. Deni that de nural ya hade pangalana chai.
Soften it up a little bit more. So there it goes. And you'll notice in the background, that's the third hide being made.
Deni that you're e hade teacher kozel ia.
This is the type of wood you use. Dry spruce. You crumble them up like this for smoking, because you gotta make sure you don't want to burn your hide and have big flames. You have to sit by the fire and listen for it so it doesn't spark. We got a little teepee set up to hang our hide.
Ku hawl you deni that na hut ede deni that yene ka e kutok e yaga pangaro asi be yene ka e. Buyeret e ha nuni there ku kuli kon hore ako delia ho ande. Deni that yoret ede kon habore ki ho Defia deni de ka de sura out in it ha. Ateka cheni dan de ku enat eni dan de ku anina dia the hot e hasik on dialo.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where we go.
That's it. And this is the finished product.
Deni that ho se bangalane chai. Tie ne zual ye hade ku tegar bangalane cha ku enahut edit in nia.